Warning, this might make you cry. I'm going to show you how to cry on command. The Denver Nuggets are in serious trouble. The Lakers sent a very clear message to Jokic that they better not get too happy. In fact, they divulged from their original plan, which is what all LeBron teams do, is they give away game one, sometimes game two, to give the team a false sense of security. They calibrate, understand what they're doing offensively and defensively, and then they attack them. In fact, they saved their battery life for the first and second game, and then it is a grudge match after that. But even LeBron and AD said, you know what? I see what's going on. This dude is getting way too hyped, hitting these shots, Jokic and Murray. Let's show them what we are capable of doing. And before you know it, in the fourth quarter, the game is literally single digits. That's the difference. The Nuggets went from being up like 20, 24, almost 30 to only winning by a margin of 6. The field goal percentages of both teams were exactly or almost exactly 54, 55%. The Nuggets only hit a few more threes than the Lakers. The Nuggets played a perfect game. KCP had 21. Jay Murray had 31. Jokic had an historic 34, 20, and 14. Tying the record for most triple-doubles in the playoffs, which is soon to be broken by him over Russell Westbrook. They out-rebounded the Lakers by 17. So that's the reason for the loss. They got out-rebounded. They also had a really top-notch shooting percentage. It should have been a blowout from beginning to end. In front of your home court, the high elevation and everything, and the Lakers were still only 3 points away from tying the game with 1:53 left to go in the fourth. They almost got beat by AR-15. If I'm Jokic, I'm shaking in my Serbian boots. Bats, scary, vampire, blood-sucking bats can literally save the world. Check this out. This is nuts. They can eat up to 1,200 insects an hour. There's over 1,400 species, the smallest being the size of a bumblebee and as big as 6 feet in length. That's the flying fox. They're also not blind. Bats are not blind. That's a common misconception. They're not blind. They just have amazing echolocation to go along with everything else. They're found on every continent except Antarctica. And wives, you should be a fan of bats, because did you know that the male husband fruit bats are known to go and you know what happened with, and this increases their chances of successful copulation. So wives, be a fan of bats. Tell your husbands, go watch some bat videos. Now here's the crazy part. This is nuts. So bat poop, which is called guano, which is bat crap, has very high levels of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Now, one of the biggest issues, we're going back to how bats can save the world. Stay with me. One of the biggest issues the war in Ukraine has is that it's halted 25% of the world's fertilizer, meaning we are on the verge of world hunger like we've never seen before. Ukraine and Russia produce NPK fertilizers, which is just that combination of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, 25% of the world's supply. So that's been cut off, okay? Well, guess what? Bat poop contains all three, the nitrogen, the phosphorus, and the potassium. So what does this mean? Bat poop can save the world from starvation. Now, to be fair, they produce about 50, this is humans, produce about 50, and this is the region, Ukraine, Russia, produce about 50 million tons of fertilizer per year. So it would take about 25 billion bats to produce that same amount. And it's estimated that there's only 1 billion bats on the planet. That's a lot of bats. If there were 25 billion bats in the sky, it would be the most hellacious experience. I mean, trippy. I mean, it would look like hell on earth. But little did you know that it was actually saving your life. Bats are important. They can save the world. Something's not adding up with this Ja Morant situation. Something seems off. Something seems fishy. Why does he keep getting into these situations? In fact, the same situation, it appears over and over again. It's idiotic. It sends the wrong message to his teammates, his fans, the organization, kids all over the world. And there's a lot of what ifs. What if the gun went off? What if he shot himself like Plaxico Burress? What if? But I like what JJ Redick said, and it's simple. Did he break any laws? Why are we jumping, pile driving the guy? Right? Why are we doing a people's elbow on him when there are far worse things that are happening? There are far worse irresponsibilities going on. And there are politicians and people in power who aren't doing anything about it, specifically this issue with gun violence. So what's really going on? Why are we doing this to him? Why are we making him the ultimate example? Here's what I think, and it's an uncomfortable truth. I want to bring your attention to another athlete, another superstar, trend-setting athlete who is going to take the NFL by storm, because we had never seen a player like him in the quarterback position. And that player is Mike Vick. Mike Vick was literally on the verge of becoming the greatest quarterback we've ever seen. A guy that could throw 300 yards a game and run 300 yards a game. And then what happened? He had his whole career taken away because of some dogs. And I'm sorry if that makes you want to throw a pile of gack in my face. And I'm sorry if I come off insensitive. But I don't think it's worth taking away the guy's whole career because he let somebody have dog fights at his complex. What they should have done, specifically the Falcons organization, is have him go through some sensitivity training, smack him with a fine, have him create an organization that works to eliminate the vicious treatment that some people put their dogs through when they're dog fighting. That is far more progressive. Far more productive than taking away his whole career. So why didn't they step in? When Roethlisberger got in some trouble, the Steelers came in. All that news went away in like a week. Brett Favre, he took people's money, people that don't have anything. He was involved in, and I'm not saying he's guilty, but I'm saying there is a reason why people believe he did that. And he's not getting any records, and all of his Hall of Fame status is stripped and taken away. Now, why would the Falcons allow this to happen? Sometimes organizations will self-sabotage their own players so they don't have to pay them supermax dollars. This happens in Hollywood all the time. You will see studios put in marketing money to slander celebrities, to not only promote them, but to bring their stock down so they don't have to pay them $20, $30 million anymore. They will feel thankful that a studio would have them back and would be generous enough to still pay them maybe half of what they originally wanted. And then what happens is when they compromise those dollar amounts, the studio helps to build back up their image as the movie is releasing. So it's plausible that the Memphis Grizzlies organization are part of this, that they're going to his people, they're going to his posse and saying, hey, we're going to break you off if you help us compromise Ja. If you put him in compromising situations, encourage him to go live. Are we brainwashed into only acknowledging and celebrating our moms one day out of the year? The only time to spoil, pamper, and gift a mom is one time a year? So I could be ungrateful, take her for granted, neglect her for 364 days out of the year. But as long as I can bust out some dying flowers in May, I'm in the clear. Mother's Day should be celebrated every day, gifted and adorned every day, because there's nothing like a mother's love. It's the last unconditional love a man will know, especially when they're an adult. Everybody else is conditional. Even the dog is conditional. Heaven is underneath your mother's feet. Isn't she worth celebrating every day? So, is Mother's Day the worst? The Little Mermaid slander has to stop. This is going to be one of the best live action Disney movies we've seen in a long time, probably since The Lion King. Halle Bailey is literally a Disney princess. From her voice, her natural head voice, to her singing talent and look. This was actually well casted, and it's not just a token diversity virtue signaling casting decision, which Disney often does, but this was a good casting. This is going to be a good movie, and the music is going to be spectacular. So yes, I will be seeing The Little Mermaid when it comes out. I believe that's next week. Did you hear us complaining when Matthew Broderick was casted as the voice actor of adult Simba? Were we tripping about that? No. Whoever is best for the part is going to be casted. And yes, location, environment, ethnicity are things that are considered initially when you cast for a part. But considering the fact that this story takes place in the Caribbean and her best friend happens to be a Bahamian crab named Sebastian, it might make sense that she's also a person of color who's indigenous to that area. I'm just saying. If you're a homeschooling parent, this video is for you. Save it, like it, make sure you follow me for more homeschool tips, especially you homeschool dads. Let me break it down how homeschool should work. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to try to simulate school in home, and you're going to put them on a rigid schedule. Nothing wrong with a schedule. Schedules are great. But what's going to happen is your kiddo, depending upon their age, now my kiddo's 6. So when we're at home, that means it's time for me and dad to play. What's this? What? I got to do math? I got to do reading and writing? What's this nonsense? So you get the rebellion eventually comes up out of their belly about a month and a half into it. So then you realize you connect with other parents and they say, hey, homeschooling doesn't have to be in the same rigid environment that you're used to with a traditional school. That's the whole benefit to homeschool, is that you don't have to do things according to institutional curriculum. Now, the two most important things you want to focus on are reading and writing and math and a little bit of science and the arts when they're young. So these are the key metrics that really need to excel. And these are the indicators in whether or not they're really advancing and if they can compete with traditionally institutionalized children in regular schools. So it's important that you do hone in on all those things. Now, I made a mistake. I had programming and robotics, half the year, and coding and history and this kind of history, that kind of history. Your child needs to go at their own pace and based upon their level of interest. So the benefit of homeschool is that you can make sure that your kid is actually retaining the knowledge, because what happens in a traditional school is they just get looked over if they don't get it. The teachers, God bless them, will leverage and rely on their students who get it at that time, and that serves as their affirmation that they're doing a good job, because you simply cannot effectively teach 15, 20 kids at once. There are going to be kids that get left behind and don't understand. So that's the benefit of homeschool, is that you don't need 6 hours to go through material. I only actually do my lessons for about 30 minutes, maybe 45 at the max. But they should be getting at least an hour and a half of play. And you need to layer in opportunities to connect with other kids. So that means getting them involved in things like ballet and dance, and going to places like Jump Zone, which are trampoline parks, so they get all the wiggles out. All of that is super beneficial to them. And so we have our daughter in an after-school program at the Park District. Perfect. She gets to jump around, do activities, connect with other kids. She gets that socialization that's so important. I also have her in a homeschool program. So every Friday, she has a simulated school experience with other homeschoolers. It's important for her to find community with other kids who are also going through the same experience, so she doesn't feel like she's missing out. She's going to feel better about homeschooling if she sees that other kids are being homeschooled and they're coming together, they're relating to one another, and they're going through the same kind of experiences. And this is the best part. You get to spend time with your kid during developmental years. Those years from 4 years old to like 8 years old are up in the air. Your child will either really advance, or they'll be average, or they'll be quote unquote below average, but they'll catch up. They will absolutely catch up. So don't worry about it. Go at their pace, go at their level of interest, and find out, what is your child really, really searching for? What do they have a knack for? And then you let them have it. You let them have as much of that chocolate as possible. So right now, my kiddo loves art. She will watch Teach Me How to Draw YouTube videos. She will open up books that teach you how to draw. So I let her have at it when it comes to that subject. The other stuff, we make sure that we at least know the standards, and we're at least hitting those standards on our own. But the most important thing is that you tool your child, that you help them become who they're supposed to become, and you find out what those gifts and knacks are early on. And like I said, the best part is you spend time with your kid. They're not spending more time at school with random teachers than they are with you. So if you're concerned that you're not hitting certain metrics, standards, educational broad strokes that every kid their age should be hitting, then enroll them in an online class. So we also have her in an online class through a website called OutSchool. And so this is where she gets her reading and writing tutoring. So she gets an online teacher. I'm her teacher. She gets teachers at the homeschool program. And she goes to an after-school program and she has coaches. And so it feels like school. She doesn't feel like she's missing out.